With the increasing shift in paradigm shift towards digital marketing and communications to build organizations community both across the profit and non-profit sector, we have seen an increasing focus on strengthening your communications function for your organization. So I invite Jay to join this Q&A session with Anushka and I.
Okay. Thank you, Olivia, for just setting the context for the discussion. And thank you to all our nonprofit partners who joined us this morning. And so just to kind of begin the discussion with Jay. So over the past 10 years, we've seen that a lot of organizations have systematically adopted social media. And today it's become a much more strategic tool as compared to other forms of traditional marketing. So Jay, my first question to you would be really around how organizations can leverage social media to not only progress on their mission, to finish their objectives, but to also build a community, a strong community of supporters.
Sure. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. Thanks to all your partners who have joined today for the session. So before I answer your question, I would like to give a little background about our experience, working with nonprofits. So in fact, our first big breakthrough, in digital as an agency was with a nonprofit. So we started working with Give India in I think about 2015. Somewhere mid 2015, we started working with Give India. We worked with them for about 2 years, where we managed their digital presence, their website, and a lot of other things for them. Post which, we've been able to work with a lot of nonprofits, some Indian, some abroad. So as we speak, we are right now working with about 2-3 nonprofits. Miracle Foundation, which is based in Houston, in the US, and their large part of work is happening in India and Sri Lanka. So they basically help orphan children's get back to the family environment. We are working with Sports Village Foundation, which is that's a foundation of a sports management agency, where they use their infrastructure, the reach, with schools and brands in order to use sports and physical activities to uplift the children and give them opportunities. And then we've also worked with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We've also launched Giving Tuesday in India. So Giving Tuesday is being celebrated across about 93 to 95 countries. India was, I think, 93rd country to start celebrating Giving Tuesday in 2018, and is when we associated with them, and we launched the festival in India, and which ran along with Dan Utsav, and for which we worked with Guiding Star, which is again an NGO that helps other NGOs with raising funds and all. So that has been our limited experience and background in working with nonprofits. Now coming to your question about how nonprofits can use social media right as a platform to communicate, to promote about themselves. I would say social media, or let's say digital. I mean, I would not just consider social media as the primary platform, because now it's entirely one piece, right? So social media, search, display, native, content marketing, inbound, outbound marketing, right? So all of this together, form digital marketing. And I would suggest that anybody who wants to do anything in digital marketing should look at the whole thing as a consolidated piece, right? So I would say digital is now mainstream. I mean, any enterprise, especially social enterprise, because they have limited budgets, wanting to start their digital journey, I would say they would pick up digital as the first medium, because any other premium for that matter is more expensive, less measurable and stuff like that. So I would suggest you take digital as your first medium. Charity is the hardest thing to sell, right? So when we started working with Give India, the CEO told me as the first brief that we are in the business of something that is the hardest thing to sell, because the only value that you're creating is the satisfaction and and the feelings and the emotions, right? So yeah, it is very hard thing to sell. So the way you need to use social media, digital, is to first gain credibility as a foundation, right? The need is already realized, right? I mean, everybody wants to contribute to towards whatever cause that they feel for, right? So the need is already realized. There are people who are wanting to contribute. But in order to build that confidence that my money would be used at the right place, you need to build a lot of credibility. So you need to talk about what you're doing. Second thing you need to talk about is that how the money is being used or will be used, right? And nothing works like stories, so you need to also build a lot of stories, right? Because I mean, as an NGO, you can't just talk about how big your scale of operations are and how good you are and what you feel and the causes that you serve. You need to actually talk about the end beneficiaries and how they're benefiting, right? And not just beneficiaries, I would also say you need to talk about stories of the people who are working for the NGO, right? So yeah, a lot of stories, a lot of communication that helps you build confidence and credibility among the donors. Also keep them informed, because they have a right to know what will happen to their money or what has happened to their money, right? So they need to be completely updated time to time. So I think these are the basic things that anybody should take care of. If you want to go a little advanced level, then you can work on a funnel strategy. So what happens is social media or display would give you the first impression, would give you the first view from the customer, right? So let's say if I were to create a visual recognition, or let's say any sort of recognition in the minds of a consumer, I need to create at least 7 to 10 impressions of the brand, right? And we all believe, right, when we begin our journey in digital marketing, we all believe ki humne ad kar diya, people will start knowing us, right? You need to very strategically serve multiple impressions, right? And there is this concept of frequency, right? So you need to generate at least 7 to 10 impressions for them to start knowing you as a brand. Once that has happened, after that you build credibility. Once that has happened, you build the emotional connect. Once that has happened, you build communication where you are actually pitching something, right? So if you want to go a little advanced, you can bring traffic by the way of search, by the way of doing social media PPC, by the way of doing display PPC. From all these platforms, people will come to the website, and that is your first impression. After they've been to your website, many of them would take some action, most of them would not take any action, would go back. What happens after they go back would really decide the entire journey of the customers or the donors in the future. So you need to keep communicating with them, right? As they keep seeing you more and more, they would start building trust. So yeah, I mean, you can apply funnel strategy using social media, display, and search, all three together, to build a community, to build the trust, and ultimately having a community that contributes.
Okay, thank you so much, Jed, and thank you for that answer. I think it really will give our organizations clarity on the different ways that they can leverage social media to
Right.
build their community. So you spoke about digital marketing communications as a whole, but I feel sometimes a lot of organizations and even us, we tend to use the words marketing and communications both interchangeably as
Right.
the same. However, yeah, so they do serve different purposes and they do serve different functions.
Right.
So when within an organization, when these functions are separated, can you just give us a little more deeper understanding into what really does marketing constitute of and what really does the communications function constitute of?
Right. So, the word that you're rightly using is a function, right? So these both are separate functions. Marketing is the function of getting somebody to act, right, on your CTA. The call to action could be contribute, participate, donate, whatever, right? So the end objective of marketing is to get somebody to act or transact on your website, or physically, or in whatever way. The function of marketing is to keep your audience updated, keep them excited, keep them engaged, right? So that's the objective of communication. To give you an example, let's say when we are doing a campaign in which we want, let's say, 1,000 donors to participate and start the donation journey with as little as 100 rupees, and for that we come up with a campaign. We promote the campaign aggressively, get a few influencers, have a few stories and stuff like that, and then we promote it. People come to the website and act on the website by the way of contributing or registering, right? So that is marketing, right, where you're spending money to get people to your website and have them transact on your website. That is marketing. As far as communication is concerned, communication is mostly organic, unless there is a message which you want to promote as much as possible without expecting anything in return, without expecting them to act, right? So communication could be, let's say you have had a great quarter, right, where you have helped let's say 1,000 kids, or let's say 1,000 elderlies, or let's say in whatever cause, it could be environment, women empowerment, whatever, right? So if you had a fantastic quarter, right, so there you can talk about the individual stories of the beneficiaries, how they've benefited. With Miracle Foundation, we have we have this metric that we follow, that every child has to have, and these metrics are given by the by the WHO and the United Nations. They have a separate section for child rights.
Right.
Now, this is which they have developed a metric which is being calculated for every child that they support, and then they publish this metric. Now that is communication, that is not marketing. Here we are saying that this is what we've done, right? Or you are, let's say, launching your operation in a different state or in a different city, right? So that is communication. You talk about what has happened in the last 1 month, how many donors participated, all that is communication, right? So the objective of communication is to keep people updated, engaged, excited, right? And get them participate with your content to build a community. And the objective of marketing is to promote something to get something, right? These are the the main distinctions, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. I think that was really, really important and insightful for everybody to just understand the difference between both the terms. And as you rightly mentioned, establishing a presence on digital media is such an important communications tool as well for nonprofits. It can serve multiple purposes for our partners, whether it's as simple as building a email list or cultivating good donor relationships, attracting new supporters, enlisting volunteers, or even cultivating the nonprofit image as maybe a thought leader.
Yeah.
So my next question to you is really, now that we've established the significance for this, so how can our organizations really gain more followers? They can increase their engagement and traction through different social media channels. And what are some of the tools that they can use to monitor these social media analytics as well?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I would separate this question into two. So let's answer the first part of the question, is how to build a community, how to get more engagements on your social media, right? So I would say you need to really have variety in your content, right? So as an NGO, when you talk about the things that you do, right? I mean, it would only interest your audience for a month or two. After that, they would feel that you're I mean, you're just talking about yourself, and you're not enriching them or not engaging or entertaining them, right? So as an NGO, your content should have enough variety. So what we usually do is we divide content into 4 to 5 key categories, right? Where we talk about brand, right? So as an NGO, what we feel about the cause that we are into, right? The difference that we're trying to make, the difference that we've already made, the scale of operations, affiliations, achievements, awards, recognitions, right? So that is what we talk about in brand content. And there we, let's say, give about 10 to 20% weightage. Then comes the business content. Business content where you talk about, the things that you actually do, right? And how your donors can participate, your community can participate, right? So this is where you sell. This is where you talk about, where you need support in the things that you're doing. I would give, let's say, 30% weightage to that. Then comes informative content. It's very important for people to be informed, to grow their knowledge into the cause, so that they feel like doing something about it, right? So we do a lot of infographics, informative videos, articles, right, which would basically enrich my audience. And the fourth category is the engaging category. Now, engaging category is content done without expecting anything in return apart from participation, or let's say some sort of engagement, right? So this is where you do some humorous content. You tell stories about the beneficiaries, you tell stories about the people who are working for the NGO, what motivates them to work for a cause than for a money, right? You talk about how other NGOs in the world are supporting the same cause, right? If let's say some famous personality or a celebrity has said something about the cause, you probably want to highlight that. So that's the engaging content, where people are just enjoying the content and sharing it if they feel like, and you're not expecting anything in return. It could be humor, it could be anything, right? So I would, let's say, again, give about 20 to 25% weightage to that content piece. And then comes thought leadership. In thought leadership, we usually highlight the promoter or the driving force of the NGO as the face of the organization, and then we highlight their thoughts. right? How the space is changing, right? What are the things that organizations need to be prepared for, right? If any cause requires participation, at a large scale from some corporations, so the promoter of the NGO talking about that, so that comes in the thought leadership. So you need to have a variety of content in order to keep your audience engaged and serve your multiple communication objectives, right? So brand content is for building the credibility, trust, and confidence. Product content is for letting them know what exactly you're doing and how exactly they can participate or contribute. Informative content is to, again, establish you as a domain leader who knows what they're doing, right? So informative content to enrich your audience, and again, to increase the shareability of your content. It has to be share worthy, and it would only be share worthy if it's informative or entertaining. And then comes engaging content, is to just keep them engaged and hooked to your social media platform, so that they don't unfollow you. They share more and more stuff that you're creating, so that it gains organic followers. And then comes thought leadership content, is because they should also know that what are your future plans, or let's say how the leaders of the NGOs are thinking. Right now, coming to how to grow and measure the followers and the engagement. Right, so you will only be able to grow your audience organically if your content is really, really good, right? So you need to have variety, information, engagement, entertainment, inspirations, emotions, all of things, all of these things into your content for getting your audience to the platform. So that would help you increase your followers. And of course, there are tools by which you can do campaigns to gain followers. On Facebook, you have page like campaigns, which is a type of a CTA that you may apply for promoting your ads, where the CTA is to come and liking the page. On Instagram, they don't have any ad to get you followers directly, unlike Facebook. So here, what you can do is you create content, promote the content, and have CTA, which is visiting the profile. So when you boost or promote something on Instagram, you get multiple options. One of the options is to get people to your Instagram profile, and once they come to the Instagram profile, they go through your feed. If the feed is interesting and the profile is decorated well, they would like to follow you. So that's how you gain followers. Another strategy to gain followers is to run some contest where following the page is a part of the process, right? And at the end, they get some gratification in the form of, let's say, a feature, or some goodies, or anything, which would gratify them. So that way you can gain followers. That's the easiest way of doing it. But again, those followers would not last very long time unless they're really concerned or associated with the cause. Now coming to how to measure these things, right? So all of these platforms have the basic analytics on the platforms itself. So you can use Facebook Insights, Instagram Insights, Google Analytics, right? So these are the things that you can follow on a regular basis to understand how your followers are growing, decreasing. If any NGO is going very aggressive and has large funds, like let's say Give India or Keto, in that case, then you can explore other I would say external analytics tools and softwares, right? So, and then you might also need social listening. So for example, an NGO like Give India, which is serving 8 to 9 causes, right? So they are doing something for women empowerment, child education, elderlies, and environment and everything. Now they want to know what people are talking about in this space, right? So on Twitter, there are thousands of people talking about environment. Now if I want to track those thousands of comments to be able to go and engage with those people and share their cause, I need to have a tool which listens to all those thousands of tweets and gives me a list of tweets that I should be interested in, right? And that is when you start using tools like Meltwater and Social Connect and stuff like that. But at basic level, I would say the platform insights are enough.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. That I think we got a lot into data-driven decision making, essentially. So just using these insights, using the data that these external tools may provide to really drive your decisions about content. So I
Right.
just want to delve a little more into this. And can you tell me a little more about what are the key metrics that we need to be looking at? What is the at what point, like this, will the data tell me that I need to change my strategy? And are there some other, like, can you give us a few examples of some tools that organizations can use to really, that tells the story about these insights to them and for them?
Okay, so first of all, I'll save you the efforts of figuring out what really works, right? So stories work the best when it comes to nonprofits, right? So so we would have marketed about, let's say, 7 to 8 different social enterprises and and then non-profits. And I would say, out of all the content, I mean, collectively we would have produced around more than 2,000 posts so far, for all of these organizations put together. And I would say stories work the best, right? People really want to read stories about what happened to the beneficiary, why a certain donor is associated with the cause and stuff like that. So stories would do the best among all the content types. Now, coming to how to assess which content type is working better, so more than the tools, I think, is the way you are reading data that is more important. Right? So when you download the data of, let's say, post level insights from Facebook or Instagram, you would know that each of the posts, how many impressions, visits, clicks, and shares each of the post has received, and basis which you would count the engagement rate. So engagement rate is nothing but how many people are engaging with the content divided by the total impressions that we've created, or the reach that we have created, right? The post with the maximum engagement rate would be the right kind of content that you should be doing more, right? So I mean, with that, you need to organize data internally. There are some tools which would help you to an extent. For example, if you want to pull out data of Instagram, you would have to in a normal scenario do it manually, but there is this tool called ice cubes. So that would help you fetch the data. There's this tool called social bakers, which would help you fetch data of all your tweets and Instagram posts and Facebook posts. It would also highlight what are the posts which have performed the best throughout the month. So social bakers is a nice tool. These are all paid tools. You'll have to buy subscription plans in order to use these tools. But yeah, I mean, as I said, more than the data, it is how you are reading the data, makes more difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. So delving a little bit more into social media platforms now, and we have different platforms. We have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and a lot more. And there is a completely different community present on each platform, and a different usage for each platform.
Right.
So my next question would be that how important is it for non-profits and organizations to really, pose a different, probably a different image or a different identity on each platform? Or what are the kind of, what is the kind of communication that they should be putting out on each platform, and how different it has to be? What is the significance of it, and how can it really, impact the way that their community is looking at them on each platform?
Right. So if you talk about this platform individually, right? So if you talk about Facebook, right? Facebook is now a mixed audience. So there are young people, there are elderlies also, right? So it's really a mixed crowd, and I would say that's a mainstream platform right now. So there you talk about your your brand, your values, your ambitions as an NGO, the things that you're doing. You talk about stories, share information, do engaging content. I would say on Facebook you can do everything, right? Because that's the mainstream platform, and any other platform would be the audience on any other platform, be it Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, would be a subset of the audience on Facebook. So on Facebook you can do anything. So all sorts of content, whether you're posting it on LinkedIn or Instagram, you can have a copy of it on Facebook. Now coming to Instagram is more visual content, right? So there people would like to see pictures and creatives, right? So I mean, I would say on Instagram you should ideally go for live pictures, videos, reels, right? Something that people can directly associate with, right? It can be in in as raw format as possible. I mean, it could be a very low resolution image also, that is fine, but it has to be an image, right? So I would say avoid creatives on Instagram and do more of images. If you can do high quality videos and and pictures, nothing like it. But yeah, pictures would work better on Instagram. Twitter is micro blogging plus conversations, right? So on Twitter, I would say you tweet whatever that you're posting on Facebook. You can tweet that as a brand on Twitter, but I would say on Twitter you should ideally identify the conversations around the cause that you're serving, right? And go and engage with those people who feel about the cause, right? So Twitter has to be conversational, right? And coming to LinkedIn, now LinkedIn is a very important piece that most of the NGOs or NPOs don't pay attention to. Now on LinkedIn, you get the giants, right? So what we do for all the organizations that we've promoted is, so we call it social selling, the process. So we basically decorate the profiles of the representatives. So let's say we take profile. Let's say we take Anushka's profile, who's representing Toolbox India, right? We would decorate Anushka's profile, make it an all-star profile on LinkedIn. Then we would reach out to the people from the corporate foundations, right, and also the brands these days, because they also want to associate with some social cause. So we reach out to the brand custodians, we reach out to the custodians of the corporate finances, of corporate CSR funds, right? So most of the large scale corporates, they have their own foundations, like Piramel, Reliance, all of them have their own separate entities, and those entities have their own CEOs and CMOs, and people who are strategizing everything. So we reach out to them and engage with them on one-to-one basis. So we use Anushka's profile. We would reach out to, let's say, the chief marketing officer of brands like Horlicks and Boost and Bonvita, and then we would tell them, hey, do you want to do something for children? This is what we have been doing, and these are the results that we have delivered so far. Would you like to associate? And they would always be open to ideas, right? So we would reach out to them. So it has to be highly personalized, one-to-one, and the treatment has to be of account-based marketing, like typical hardcore B2B companies would do, right? So yeah, so this is how you should reach out to them. Likewise, for corporate foundations, they are open to most of the causes, unless the foundation is sharply focused on let's say education or something else. So again, you can reach out to the custodians of this foundation, talk about what you have been doing, and they would engage with you. The discussion would go to the next level. Try and take that discussion to a meeting, online or offline, right? And then things will transpire into business, right? So this is how your treatment to LinkedIn should be ideally. Yeah, so that's how I would suggest your treatment to each of the platforms should be.
Okay, thank you, Jay. And so my next question really, what I've seen personally in the for-profit sector is that now advertising is everything. Advertising is the key to building your community. It is the key to pushing your product, and just that whole business manager side of these platforms is the key driving force of the business. So what I want to really understand is, how can non-profits leverage advertising and these business manager tools to probably lead up to a follow, lead up to a like, lead up to maybe a donation or a sale. So how can they best leverage these tools to really further their vision?
All right. So, see, as far as advertising is concerned, if you're on digital, you have to advertise, because the platforms have become very greedy. They wouldn't provide organic reach, which they used to do earlier, right? So even to promote content, you'll have to advertise. Advertising will help you to build audience, to gain recognition, impression, getting people to the website, and all of that. Uh, so yeah, you can do story based advertising, you can do cause based advertising, you can do outcome based advertising, right? You can do requirement based advertising, right? So for example, Cato shows the requirement first, right? So that so and so person requires your support, and for which I think you should contribute, right? So that is their way of doing advertising. The way we do it is that we talk about the past outcomes, right? And we communicate, this is what we've done so far, these are the kids that we've helped, these are the people that we've helped, and you can be a part of our next such project. So it really depends on the positioning of the NGO how to advertise, but the advertising is a must to build the audience, number one. Now coming to the tools, right? So simple tools like, let's say, Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics. If you're using an app, then let's say Firebase. If you're doing emailers, then reading the analytics of those emailers, how many people are opening, transacting, what's happening with the people who have opened the emails, right? So this analytics would help you understand what kind of communication is working better in advertising, right? And every NGO would have their own sweet spots, right? So for somebody that would let's say for some NGO, right, requirement based advertising has really worked, and hence they're accelerating that, right? For some, the outcome based. For some, it's the process that people are really interested in, right? For one of the NGOs that we were marketing, right, their USP was that they use only 11% of the raised fund to manage the NGO, and 89% goes to the cause, right? So that was the USP. So we used to use that, because frequent donors would know these things, right? Some NGOs would talk about taxation, So in order to know what communication is working for you and what is your sweet spot, you need to understand, how each one of your campaign is performing, the quality of traffic that you're generating, that you would be able to know from Google Analytics, that how people are, after coming to your website, how they are behaving on the portal. So you need to understand the funnel from homepage, how many people are going to the cost page, from cost page how many are going to the payment page or participation page, right? So these tools would help you understand the quality of traffic that you're generating from each of these campaigns. So you need to use UTM parameters to basically segregate between the visits, so that what traffic is coming from which ad exactly. In order to understand that, you need to use UTM parameters, so that within your analytics dashboard you'll be able to differentiate between the traffic that you're getting from different campaigns, and you can get to know how much time people from Facebook or Google or from, let's say, XYZ campaign are spending on your website, and how they're going to the level 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's another tool called Hotjar, which is to understand the heat map of the website. So if you have 4 to 5 call to actions on the website and 3 to 4 menu options, if you want to know where people are clicking the most, right, this is what would help you. So it creates a heat map of where
And
audience
is it paid
exactly
for?
is clicking. Hotjar.
Okay. Yeah. Is it paid?
It is paid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they also have a free version, but if you want to really make the most of it, I think you should take the paid version. It also records all the individual sessions, and they would charge you on the basis of how many sessions you want to record, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so on Hotjar, let's say if I want to record 1,000 sessions, and 1,000 sessions are enough for me to understand how exactly people are behaving on my website or on phone, right? So it would record everything right from the user coming to your website, and where they're clicking, where they're scrolling, how much time they're spending on one piece of content and stuff like that. So you can use these tools to better understand your audience, and then better understand what content is really working for them. To give an example, let's say we on one landing page we were talking about the history of NGO, right? And that has a lot of technical stuff and names that people wouldn't be interested in, right? People will just scroll through it, right? They're not spending time over there. So we know that, okay, this particular section is useless. So maybe we put a story there, or we talk about numbers, right, or something that is very easy to consume, right? So yeah, these tools would help you in that way. And I would suggest, as an NGO, don't over advertise, right? So I would say 7 to 10 impressions for getting user to the first level of the funnel is enough. If you go beyond that, they would start hating you, they would start blocking you, right? So if the user or the, let's say, viewer is really meant to be your donor or a community member, they would engage with you in the first 7 to 10 impressions itself. And once they've engaged with you, they are already a part of the funnel. Then you are sending them emails, and you are doing retargeting, showing them different stuff wherever they go, right, and all that.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. I think that was really, really helpful for our partners to understand. So I think I'll just ask a final question before we'll invite our audience to ask you more questions, probably. So coming to the most important aspect, the most important question that every nonprofit has asked us, and whenever we've interacted with them. Now, social media is such a large community, and therefore it presents a massive opportunity for organizations to boost their fundraising efforts. And while you have touched upon this during the entire session, could you probably elaborate in detail about how organizations can really convert their audience and their community to direct donors?
Sure. Okay, so I would again talk about funnels here. Right, funnel is the way to go if you want to convert your community into donors, right? So we talked a lot about how to build a community, right? Now let's say you have a community, you have people. Let's say in the past 3 months you have 10,000 visitors on your website, out of which 2,000 registered for your regular emailers, right? So now there are two funnels that we are working on: people who have visited the website, people who have subscribed to your newsletter or your emailers, whatever. And then there is third funnel of the people who have already donated in the past, right? So let's talk about these three funnels. Now, people who have been to the website and have not taken any action. Let's say there are 8,000 of them in this scenario. So we run retargeting ads, remarketing ads, which basically targets people who have visited your website and have not taken any further action. right? Now in those ads, you can talk about what you have recently done, right? You talk about some measurements, you talk about some immediate instant requirement, where you need their support, right? Basis what page they visited on the website, you would know the intent level of the audience. If somebody has reached to the payment stage and has not made the transaction, right, then there are a lot of scenarios that we can think about, that maybe they didn't feel we are credible enough, right? Maybe they want to talk to somebody before they make the donation, right? So let's, out of those 8,000 people, if 1,500 have reached to the payment stage, it's very easy to convert those 1,500, right? So they are the lower hanging fruits. So you create that as a separate audience on, let's say, Google remarketing or Facebook remarketing, and start targeting them, asking, what went wrong, right? Or let's say talk about numbers or achievements or stories that would really help them, gain that confidence to be able to donate. So that's how you convert that audience. Now coming to the, other 6,500 who have not reached to the payment stage, have bounced back from the homepage itself, right? So to them, you need to communicate a little more about, what you do and how you help, your beneficiaries, the process that you follow, the way you keep them informed about, the effect of the donation, and stuff like that. And again, try to bring them back to the website. So out of those 6,500, at least 3 to 4,000 would come back to the website and take some action. And from those 3,500, you would be able to convert, let's say, 1,000 more to the email subscribers. So your email subscriber audience, has now grown from 2,000 to 3,000, right?
Okay.
Now this is like really lower hanging fruit, right? And for them, you need to run drip campaigns, right? And for which you need to use, some email delivery platform, Mailchimp, Sendinblue, SendGrid, Constant Contact. There are like, a lot of them, Zoho, Lead Squared, right? So these are all like database and email management platforms. Now you start sending out emailers to them, right? And and here you need to create, a really nice drip campaign strategy, where you need to, first decide at what level, what kind of communication has to go out. So first communication should be, let's say, about meeting, greeting, giving them basic information about the NGO. Second emailer should be about, hey, you know what, this is what we did in the last quarter, and thank you so much for all your support, right? Although they have not supported, let's say, monetarily, but they've at least decided to subscribe. Then in the third email, you can say, these are our plans for the next quarter, and this is what we are planning to do. This is where we will require, support from donors like you. Would you like to contribute? This is where you start pitching, right? And this is like, in general, a universal appeal to everybody to come and contribute. Then comes the requirement based emailer, where you're talking about a specific requirement, a specific story, right? And you say, this is where you can support, right? Why don't come on board, right? The fifth emailer could be, hey, you know what, uh, uh, you know uh, 500 of those who registered along with you on a website have already contributed, right? And this is what happened with the funds and stuff like that. That would, further give them confidence that a lot of things are happening. 500 people, from when I started interacting with this organization, they've already contributed. So things are happening, right? And then, it could be again an appeal emailer and stuff like this. So that's how you build your drip communication step by step, and try and convert them into donors. At the same time, you also need to make sure that you don't forget your existing donors. It shouldn't happen that you only remember them when when you need more money or when you need more funds. So they need to be kept informed about what's happening. They need to be kept engaging. They need to be kept engaged. Sometimes you might surprise them with, let's say, if it's a birthday and you are an organization who does something about children, right? You need to, you can have a nice post or nice emailer wishing them birthday with pictures of those kids, right? It would make them feel very, very special. And next time when they think about donating, your NGO would be the first one that they think about. So this is how you engage with your existing donors also, to increase your ticket size, right, from each donor. So yeah, this is how you can convert your community into donors.
Okay, thank you so much, Jay. Your insights have just been absolutely to the point, extremely practical for organizations to understand and use in their strategy. So now we're just going to move over to the questions that have come from the audience.
Mhm.
So in the chat box, and if anyone has any more questions, you can switch on your mic or like put it in the chat box. So Jacob from Sevak has asked, is there a minimum frequency of posts that you should have in a week or in a month to improve visibility?
Yeah, so I would say, if your audience is reacting well to the content, there's no harm in increasing the frequency. You can even post 10 times a week, if the audience is reacting well. If you're in the process of building the audience and figuring out what really works, I would say do about 4 to 5 posts in a week, but do it really well. The post really should deliver some value to the reader, right? So yeah, I mean, the frequency is I mean, really depends on the way your audience is reacting to the content. So initially you may go slow, but once you have a nice community, then I think you can grow your frequency.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Aneri from Mahila Housing Trust has asked, how much does scheduling posts help, and are there any tools that can help for scheduling and posting the posts?
Sure. So yeah, scheduling the post helps you. I mean, sometimes in, let's say, during festivals and off days, right, when your team members are not available, the scheduling softwares really help. And also, for example, on Instagram, right? So the late evening is a great time to post, right? But by that time, most of us are commuting to home, or let's say busy with dinners and stuff, right? So in that case, you can schedule your posts. There are a lot of tools available. We use Buffer and Hootsuite, right? And there are a lot of other tools available which you can use. Most of the social listening tools nowadays also provide scheduling, right? So
Okay.
there are a bunch of tools available.
All right. And there's another question about LinkedIn. So to really drive engagement on LinkedIn, is it right to like tag all partners, or is it very like overwhelming and over the top to do
Yeah,
that?
it is over the top. Do not tag them, right? So I mean, they may not like to be tagged in any communication, right? Because these corporations, right, they're very conscious about the look and feel and the branding. And NGOs, with the limited budget, they not have the best art team or the creative team, right? And you tagging them in any random post may not go well with them. So what I would really suggest is that LinkedIn, so you communicate everything that you have to communicate, right? Whatever that you're doing on Facebook, from all the categories of content that we talked about, you post all of that on LinkedIn. But when it comes to engaging with the partners, I would say you go one on one, right? So this sports foundation, what we used to do is that so we created a white paper,
Mhm.
a very very insightful document, right, in which we talked about how sports helps children to grow their skills, life skills or analytical skills or educational skills, right? So how sports plays a big part in the overall development of a child, right? And on that we created a white paper. And the last update in the education policy, right, so there also government has suggested that sports would become a very important part of the pedagogy, right? So we used all of that, created a really informative, insightful white paper. Then we reached out to all the organizations who are doing something about educating children, or doing something about let's say children, right? We reached out to all of them, right? Share this white paper, from the CEO of the NGO to the CMOs and brand heads, and the foundation heads and the CXOs of all the organizations that we were reaching out, saying, hey, you know what, we've recently developed this research paper. Would you like to take a look and share your views? And we are also open to partnerships, right? So how about joining hands and doing something about it? And once they go through the paper, which is really insightful, they would like to talk to you, because now they feel that they're talking to serious people, right? So that's how your outreach on LinkedIn should be.
That makes a lot of sense, Jay.
Yeah.
And there's another question about email marketing, where actually someone has raised their hand. I will come back to that question. Yes, Pavandeep, would you like to switch on your mic?
Yeah, thanks, Jay, for such an informative session. So I was wondering, I'm left with more questions than answers. Thank you so much for such wonderful, session. So, in most NGOs we work, our target audience, since they belong to underprivileged class, they may not have those mobile phones and access to the social media platform.
Mhm.
So if they have that to very limited extent, so how can we do the offline marketing to an extent and then bring back them to the online marketing? What sort of linkages we can do, to really make best out of the situation?
You're talking about the beneficiaries, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay. So your question is, if they don't have access to digital platforms, how to reach out to them?
Yeah, from online to from offline to online, how can we do that sort of a linkage, where we can continue informing them through the social media afterwards?
Okay. So see, I mean, if they don't have access to digital devices, then it's very difficult to get them online, But yeah, I mean, there are some innovative practices that large brands have used. They've used feature phones, they've used radio, right? And they've used influencers. For example, we did this campaign with one of the leading paint brands in India, right? So they were targeting people who do basically the painting, and so the carpenters and those laborers who actually do the work. Right now, it's impossible to catch them on LinkedIn, or let's say on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, right? But they're all active, very active on WhatsApp. So we did a WhatsApp based campaign in 7 languages, because they may not understand English well, right? So we did, and that was India's first of its kind and the only campaign on WhatsApp that ran in 7 languages. So we created a chatbot where all they had to do is save the number on their phone and they can start chatting with the brand. Rest everything was automated, and it was divided into 7 languages. So there are such innovative practices which we can use, but these are expensive, right? So the ideal way to go about it is that reach out to the influencers who have access to digital channels, and through them you can reach out to them.
Hasnan has raised his hand. Hasnan, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you, Alfia. Thank you, Jay, for very insightful session. Sorry, I could not join on time, but I might have missed something very beautiful, I assume. But going forward, I would like to understand one point from you here. As general marketers or communication people, we are lured by almost all the media that is available, and India has the cheapest data rate charges in the world, and so you feel like being everywhere. But the experience shows that to maintain any handle, you need to feed more stories, and therefore you need people to dig out stories and write them well. And if you are not shareable and juicy enough, then you end up filling your own timeline and be boring. So what would you recommend? Suppose taking my NGO's example, I come from Udayan Care. So say most of my donors are CSR people. You can say institutional funding is
Right.
something that is
Right.
that contributes to our 80%, roughly speaking, of the funds that we receive to our institutions, to our skilling centers, to our fellowships, you can say. So what would you recommend? Should we put more energy, as it sounds from your example and my own experience shows that LinkedIn, do you think LinkedIn will be the place where I should be putting most of my energies and resources?
Absolutely. Not most
Could
of
you please
all.
elaborate, Jay, here?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would say all of your energy should go on LinkedIn. If your donor base 80% is from the CSR funds, I think that's what you should be doing.
Okay. And
Yeah.
anything else you would like to suggest? Like, how should I leverage this platform better? If you can add few more points.
Yeah. So I would suggest you to subscribe to the LinkedIn tool, Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator
Okay.
would allow you to reach out to more people at once, would allow you to filter your audience the way you want. Right.
Okay.
So yeah. So with Sales Navigator, you can choose seniority, designations, the size of the company, the revenue of the company. Right. I mean, since you are targeting CSR funds, right? I mean, you would want to target companies whose profit is more than 50 CR. Then they have CSR budgets. Right. So
Okay.
yeah. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator allows you to apply all these filters and populate a list of prospects that you can reach out to, and then you can start reaching out to them. But yeah, again, as you said, the content really makes a difference. A plain outreach would not result into a great response. So you need to have something substantial to share with them, because these are like foundation custodians that you're reaching out to, very senior people.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Alifia, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Jay and Hasnan. So I'll go back at the question I missed earlier, which was on email marketing, where MailChimp, typically a lot of the mails go to spam. So is there like some kind of a stronger tool that, organizations can use for email marketing to just get the mail in
Okay, so
box?
MailChimp is the best tool. I would say it's not about the platform, it's about the domain.
Okay.
Right? So you need to really warm up the domain before you start, reaching out to the audiences. Now there are multiple ways in which you can avoid this from happening. So first of all, even before you start the outreach, you need to warm up your domain. So first, authenticate your domain in MailChimp or any other email marketing platform that you're using. Then start sending out emailers in the beginning manually to the people that you know.
Okay.
right? And have them respond to your email so that the platform feels that we are reaching out to the people that we know and they're engaging with us. And the platform would not consider us as a spam.
Okay.
Then after that, reach out to the people, right, who have known you, or who have subscribed organically, and they're expecting your emails, and don't just upload the bulk file, right? So this is how you can warm up your domain, right? And after that, one exercise that you should regularly do is that the hard bounces, right? So there's something called as hard bounce, soft bounce, and people have not opened the emails and stuff like that. This is what you get from the analytics. So the email IDs that are hard bouncing, right, remove them from your list. The email IDs that have changed, are not active, are not responding, remove them from your from your list. And if you keep this filter happening time and again, the quality of the database would be better, and more people will engage with your emailers, and then all the email receptors would start considering you as a valid domain, and then you will not go to spam. Yeah.
I think there's another question from Mahila Housing Trust, um, who've mostly looked at organizational donation, but they want to begin with individual donors now. So they've asked for your suggestion if platforms like Give India or Keto can really help them to build visibility among individual donors.
Definitely. So I think they can provide you a great start because they have the audience, they have the credibility, right? So they've built the base, over the hard work and efforts of decades. Cato has been, let's say around since about 6 to 7 years, but Give India has been there for more than a decade, I think, right? So yeah, I mean, their audience base would definitely help you. So yeah, I mean, that should be your starting point, and then eventually you can start, marketing aggressively your NGO too, directly to the donors.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Jay. I think that's been, as Alifia mentioned, there were really practical insights for our nonprofits to understand. Um, I think we'll just take one final question from anybody in the audience, or whoever would like to raise their hand or put another question in the chat box. Does anybody have any further questions for us?
I think there's one in the chat box.
Okay.
I think Prashant from GSP is trying to work on social media and engagements, but it's not working. So how can they best leverage an external agency to help them drive engagement?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, agency, since they have professionals working on individual functions of digital, right? So they have copywriters, they have people who understand branding, they have people who understand the audience and media buying, right? So agencies would definitely help you to, in order to figuring out what's really working really fast, right, and then accelerate it. So yeah, agencies would help definitely. Otherwise, I would say, I mean, strategize your content well. Calendarize your content, have a variety in your content, create content that is emotionally very pleasing, I would say. Right, I mean, I don't like the sad communication a lot. It could be a turn off sometimes, right? But yeah, I mean, have variety in your content, and I think that should help, right? So have variety in your content, keep boosting your content, everything that you prepare initially, in order to understand what's really being liked by the audience, and I think you will figure out eventually. Or else agency is another option.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. I think that would be our last question for today. I think if anyone has any more questions, you can email either Anushka, Ela, or Joyita, and we will get back to you with the responses. So, Jay, thank you so much for willing to be a part of this session. It has been invaluable for us. We've learned so much. I'm sure our organizations have taken back even more, and I think that's it from our end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. We really appreciate
Absolutely,
you
my pleasure.
taking out the time to do this on a Saturday morning. Thank you so
No,
much.
that's absolutely fine. Feel free to reach out. Anybody, if you have any questions, I mean, you can share my credentials if required. Would be happy to answer.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, and take care.
And thanks to all of our non-profit partners who joined. We hope the session was really helpful for all of you. And as Alithia mentioned, please do reach out to us in case of more queries that you have. Thank you.